Terence Crawford. Hope we spelling that right. One R. Okay. There we go.
This is high-speed chess. That's what you're watching.
What's going on, my guys? We're back doing one of those resume deep dive videos. I hope you caught the last one yesterday. We did Roy Jones. That was a pretty long video, about 40 minutes long. Today, we're going to be doing a really big question mark in today's boxing world. We understand Crawford's a pound-for-pound fighter. Canelo kind of stirred up the pot a bit when he said he's never fought anybody, especially anybody of the elite status. I want to go back. I want to take a look at Terence Crawford's resume. We'll give it a definitive grade on how I would rate his resume. Terence Crawford's 41-0 with 31 knockouts. He's a 4-division, 2-time undisputed champion. This guy's brilliant. In and outside of the ring, 74-inch reach, 5'8", 37 years old. Terence Crawford, born and raised Omaha, Nebraska. Fun fact, that is where my family's from. So maybe a bit of bias here. I think where Crawford's resume is going to start, it's going to be Ricky Burns. Ricky Burns was his first world title fight. Terence Crawford thought Ricky Burns was elite. A lot of people laughed at him for that one. He didn't stop Ricky Burns. He went 8-4, 9-3 with Ricky Burns. He had a clear decision over him. Ricky Burns was coming off of a draw. He was 36-2-1. Pretty sure he was an active champion, though. We'll take a look at Ricky Burns. You know, if you guys watched the video yesterday, we like to look at who they were before, who they were after, and where they were ranked currently before their fight. So let's see. Ricky, he lost to Ndongo. That's not good. But that was years after fighting Crawford. That was years after fighting him. He came off a draw with this guy. Burns was down in the 8th, suffered from a broken jaw in the 2nd round. Okay. And this guy is definitely not the best boxer. Ricky Burns lost to Crawford, went on to lose his next fight to this guy, who is maybe not the best. He's a 5'4" lightweight, which is kind of crazy. He goes to fighting an 8-rounder, which he won. His next 12-round fight, he loses again. And then from there, he's never able to capture the world title again. He makes a move to 140. He stops his first opponent, beats his next opponent pretty convincingly, gets a shot at unification against Ndongo, loses to Ndongo, and then loses to Anthony Crolla. And then from there, stays on the UK scene. This guy never really left the UK scene. Ricky Burns is not an elite fighter. Ricky Burns is a really great regional fighter, maybe an elite regional fighter. I'll give him that. He's a top tier elite regional fighter. In the UK, he was one of the best guys the lightweight division probably had to offer. And if we go back, that's too far back. So if we go back and now let's look at where Ricky Burns was ranked in what year? 2014. Ooh. 2013, he was ranked 4th. In 2013, he was ranked 4th. So it's not a bad win. It's not a bad win. Ricky Burns, he, like I said, he's very, very, very far from being an elite fighter. Elite regional, I'll give him that much. Then we get straight into Yuriorkis Gamboa, who was undefeated at the time, who Terence Crawford stopped in the 9th round. I'm not gonna say he dominated Gamboa, but he did stop him. He did put him down. He hurt him several times. Gamboa hurt him. It was a really scrappy fight between the two. Before we even get into that, Yuriorkis Gamboa was not ranked at lightweight. As a matter of fact, just make sure I'm looking at this right. Gamboa has never been ranked at lightweight. That is very interesting. Very interesting. Yuriorkis Gamboa. Let's take a look at him. 2014. The biggest thing with Gamboa, while he was pound for pound at one point in his career, he wasn't when Crawford fought him, but he was still a really good fighter. The biggest thing with Gamboa, it was his 2nd fight at lightweight. He was kind of in a rush to move to lightweight. As you can see, he's featherweight champion, right? And I don't know if he vacated in his next bout in 2011. I think they both missed weight. Yeah, they both missed weight. Okay. And then he goes to 130, has one fight at 130, one fight at 135, and then jumps into the best guy at 35, and which was Terence Crawford. He got stopped in. He goes on, takes he just fights 10 rounders after that. Stoppage, UD, quits on the stool against this guy, which is absolutely crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I'm kind of awe. Quits on the stool, goes majority decision, another majority, UD. It takes him a while to get back into 12-round fights. He gets a 12-rounder against Tank, which he gets stopped in the 12. Absolutely dominated. And loses to Haney, loses to Issa. Gamboa is a really good win at the time. Tad bit overrated. How would I rate this win? With Gamboa never being ranked at lightweight, with this being his second ever fight at lightweight, only having one fight at super featherweight, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Ricky Burns, I give a 6 out of 10. He goes on to fight this guy Raymundo Beltran, who was ranked number, what year are we in? 2014. He was ranked number 2. Who was he? He was 29-6, one draw. He fought him in 2014. So he went to a draw with Ricky Burns, which is something we got to keep our eye on. Before this fight, he was never able to capture a world title, but was fighting for the NABF lightweight title, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And like I said, he fought Ricky Burns to a draw for the WBO title. He tried to capture that WBO title off Terence Crawford. Unsuccessful. Unanimous decision by Crawford there. What did he do after that? After that, he tried to fight for the WBO world lightweight title again in no contest. Title remains vacant because Beltran did not make the weight. TKO win for Beltran, overturned due to doping. Okay. So this guy's a bit of a mess. He's a bit of a mess here. Goes on to fight 8 rounders, 10 rounders. He fights for the NABF title once more. Knocks out the guy in 2. Goes on to actually capture the WBO title, which was vacant. He loses it to Pedraza. The next fight, he never defends the title. He goes on to fight for the IBF lightweight title against Richard Comey. This guy's not terrible. I say he's a little bit worse than Ricky Burns. I give him like a 5.5 as a victory. It's an okay win there. Very okay win. I could never pronounce this guy's name, but Terence Crawford stopped him in 6 in 2015. This was at 140. So now we move on. We can close our lightweight tab, move on to 140 of the 2010s. Here we go. 2015. Thomas Dulorme. He was ranked 10 in 2014. 2015, he wasn't ranked at all. So Thomas Dulorme was not ranked. Why wasn't he ranked? He was 22-1. It's weird. Ranked 10th. Crawford stopped him in 6th for the WBO World Super Lightweight vacant title. He put him down 3 times in round 6. Guy finished his career 26-7, 5'10" orthodox fighter from Puerto Rico. He fought Virgil Ortiz at 154. That's crazy. Let's see what's relevant to the Crawford fight. He goes on the 8 rounders. He stops his next 2 in 8 rounders. Moves up to welterweight. Gets beat by Ugas. Fights Jesse Vargas to a majority draw. That's about it. Before that, he does beat Henry Lundy by split. Never captured a title. Captured an international WBC title. No names that are popping out. DeMarcus Corley in 2011. That is crazy. Really another probably elite regional fighter over in Puerto Rico. That is what it's looking like. Runs into Crawford. Never fights for a world title again. He does fight Virgil Ortiz. He got stopped in the first round. That was so far after Crawford beat him, though. I gotta be honest. Next on, we go to Deary John. Deary John. In 2015. Deary John. I hope I'm saying this right. He was not ranked again. I will rate the Delorme victory a 5. That's a 5. He was okay. Now, John, 29-1. For some reason, again, was he ever ranked at 140? In 2013, he was ranked 8th. Okay. So, already not the best opponent. It's twice now Crawford's fought somebody who wasn't ranked top 10 in the division. He finished his career 31-2. Now let's look at who he beat and how he got there. Captured the NABF title and defended it a couple times. He tried to step it up and fight Crawford for the WBO junior welterweight title. Obviously got knocked out. Is he Canadian? Oh, okay. Again, another really elite regional fighter. In Canada, this is probably the best Canadian boxer they have to offer. And you get some type of points for me out of that. If you're the best boxer in a weight class your country has to offer, you get a bit of points for me. I gotta be honest. He had the title fight with Lamont Peterson, which he lost unanimous decision. Judges had it a bit close. Yeah, and then he tries a shot at Crawford. He held the NABF title for a while, defended it. He even got some stoppages in his defenses. Oh, when he fought Crawford, that was his first ever. No, he fought at welterweight. Okay, I was gonna say John. It's Haitian. Okay, John. That's another 5.5. Never ranked. Honestly, that's a 5. He was never ranked in the division. Never held a world title. Had 2 world title fights, which he both lost. That's a 5 out of 10 for me. Henry Lundy in 2016. Where was Lundy ranked? And we're looking at junior welterweight just to make sure we're getting this right. Henry Lundy was never ranked at junior welterweight. Another bit of an iffy guy here. Finished his career 32-14. When he met Crawford, he already had about 5 losses. He was coming off a TKO victory in an 8-round bout, but also coming off a NABF title fight in which he got stopped in the 5th. He lost to Thomas Delorme. Henry Lundy, I give him a 4 out of 10. This is just not a great victory. He was never ranked. Never really fought for the world title outside of Crawford. Yeah. I'm not seeing much here with Henry Lundy. This is the worst fighter he's fought since becoming a champion. 4 out of 10. Victor Postal. This is a guy that Crawford had really high praise for him. Crawford won this one quite easily according to the 3 judges. Victor Postal in 2016, let's take a look, was number 1. Even in 2017 was number 2. 2015 was number 1. 2014 was number 8. Let's get the whole rundown on Victor Postal here. Victor Postal was ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years consecutively in the junior welterweight division. This is a guy that's worth mentioning. 28-0 when Crawford met him. He finished his career 32-5, but we're gonna do what's relevant to Crawford's career. And he lost to some good fighters. He lost to a Josh Taylor. He lost to a Jose Ramirez, a Gary Antoine Russell. Right? He went majority decision with Jose Ramirez. And he fought Crawford in what, 2016? 2016. Before that, He was a champion. He was an active world champion. He was coming off a stoppage victory, and Crawford had taken the title from him. So that's actually beautiful. Not only that, he's an elite regional fighter over in the Ukrainian scene. If you look at his Ukrainian background, knockout, stoppage, knockout, stoppage. He was very dominant in the regional scene. He comes over to the States, I believe, for his first world title fight. Yeah, he comes over to the States. He fights a guy 37-3, and he stops him. This is a great win for Crawford. It's a really good win for Crawford. He still goes on. He fights a 10-rounder, pulls it out, loses to Josh Taylor. It's like, okay, that's Josh Taylor. That's one of the greatest junior welterweights of all time. Victor Postal, being ranked 7 years consecutively in the division, that's really great. I think Victor Postal's a good 7.5. I like Victor Postal a lot on his resume. John Molina, this guy missed weight, came in at 143. Let's see, Molina, never been ranked at 140 again. Oh man, 29-6, finished his career 30-9. He fought Crawford in 2016. He got stopped, goes on, fights 10 rounders, finishes his career shortly after fighting Crawford. Before fighting Crawford, don't think he ever fought for a world title. Yep, he did. Fought for a lightweight title, got stopped in the first. He did get the WBO, NABO title. I'm not seeing much. He fought for a title, got stopped in the first. Crawford stopped him in the 8th. The guy missed weight, never ranked at 140. I'm not too moved about this guy, John Molina. Not moved at all. Gotta be honest. There's another guy I give a 4.5 just because he had a world title fight. Felix Diaz is next. Let's see. Diaz. No. Felix. No. Felix Diaz was never ranked at the 140-pound division. He was 19-1 when Crawford fought him. He finished his career 20-3. Dominican Republic. Is he a Olympian? It looked like he has some Olympian outfit on here. Terence Crawford stopped him in 10. He went on to have 2 more 10-round fights. He lost his next fight after Crawford, and he finished his career on a 2nd-round stoppage. Now, before fighting Crawford, it was his first world title fight. The guy seemed really inexperienced. Yeah. There's not much going on here. A lot of 8-rounders. Not a lot of good opponents. Fought Lamont Peterson. He took to majority decision, so that's not terrible. It's not terrible. That was at 144 catch weight. What is his name? Felix Diaz we're looking at here. It's another 5 out of 10. It was never ranked at 140. Then we get to Julius Ndongo. This was for undisputed, so you got to get some points for that. It's undisputed. These guys are both unified active champions. Ndongo was number 7 and number 5, which is kind of embarrassing. The fact that he was a unified champion and wasn't top 5 in the division. But we'll take a look at Julius Ndongo. He was really bad after Crawford. I know that much. Crawford beats him in 17. He got knocked out in 3. Regis Prograis goes on to then knock him out in 2. Gets a TKO victory in a 10-rounder. Then he gets stopped in 2 again. Stopped in 4. Loses in points. Very, very bad career after Crawford. Very, very bad career. Terrible career. Now let's talk about before Crawford. He beats Ricky Burns, who was a former champion. All right, he defended his titles against Ricky Burns, his unified titles. He stopped somebody in the first to defend his unified titles. A guy who's 25-0. Who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is. He stopped him though to defend the titles. He then stops this guy over in Africa. Is Africa? I believe so. And so, again, I'm seeing a pattern here on Crawford's resume. Julius Ndongo, elite regional fighter from the African amateur scene, or the African low pro level scene that Ndongo came from. He was the best guy that region of Africa had to offer. He gets to fighting a bit more international. He does have some good fights. Like I said, he does stop somebody in one for the title. He does beat Ricky Burns to defend those titles. And then he goes on to lose to Terence Crawford in 3 by knockout. And what's messing me up with Ndongo is, first of all, he's only ranked 7 and 5 for 2 years, despite being unified. So that tells me there was something. Somebody felt like his unification wasn't deserving. And then he goes on and gets stopped by Regis in 2 a year later, or a couple months later, 7 months later. Julius Ndongo, I don't believe he's better than Victor Postal. I like Victor Postal a lot more than Ndongo. I had to give Ndongo 6.5. 6.5. Then he goes on, he fights Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn was 18-0 with a draw. He stopped Jeff Horn at 9. Now we finally move up to welterweight. We can close out our 2010 junior welterweight. And this was in 2018. He fights Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn was ranked for 2 years. He was ranked 8th and he was ranked 9th. Which is kind of crazy. After being Pacquiao, he didn't really move too high. He beat the number 4 guy. He only jumped to 8th. Interesting. Jeff Horn, let's look at the career of this guy. 20-3. We all know he was the guy who robbed Pacquiao. He got stopped by Tim Tszyu at 154. He got stopped again at 160. Okay. But he did lose to Terence Crawford by stoppage. This was Terence Crawford's welterweight debut. So he beat Pacquiao, whether you guys like it or not. On paper, he beat Pacquiao. He then goes on to defend that title in a stoppage victory. He dominated the guy and stopped him late. Outside of that, really great in the regional scene. Elite regional fighter again over in the Pacific area over in Australia. Jeff Horn seemed to be the guy they were building up. The climax, the pinnacle of his career was the robbery upset over Pacquiao, which was a UD. And then he goes on to never really bounce back and get to that level. So Jeff Horn, I give him a good 7. He beat Pacquiao. He was an active world champion. He was undefeated in the Australian regional scene. He ran into a really good fighter. It took a really good fighter to put him down for good at welterweight. So I'll give Jeff Horn about a 7. Jose Benavidez. This is David Benavidez's older brother. Benavidez. Make sure I'm spelling this right. Never been ranked at 147. Once again, 27-0. Let's see who he beat to obtain such a record. He's had 1 win since that loss to Crawford. That's crazy. Got stopped by Crawford in 12. Then goes on, fights a 10-rounder, goes to majority draw. Fights Danny Garcia, majority draw, gets a TKO victory. Obviously loses to Charlo. Before this fight, he's had 1 12-rounder fight, which he stopped the guy in 12, and a dominant fight. Or he had 2 12-round fights. He's had 2 12-rounders before the Crawford fight. When I'm looking at this guy, Jose Benavidez, I'm looking at lack of experience. I'm not looking at much. I'm looking at his younger brother making his name really, really relevant. Like, if I gotta be honest, I'm at least looking for some regional titles. I'm at least looking for some international something. There's none of that. He has the NABF Junior Welterweight 140 title, which was vacant. It was the Junior Welterweight title, but they both came in extremely overweight. What? Gotta be wrong. And then he never defends that title. Just never defends it. He never had a 12 rounder at 147. If I had to rank him, a guy who's never been ranked in the division, a guy who's never held a world title, has had one world title fight, never really held any great regional titles for the most part. It's a 4.5, dog. It's not a great win. It's just not a great win. We're going to Amir Khan. Amir Khan, who was ranked in the welterweight division for 3 years straight. He was number 3, and number 6 in 2016. Crawford unfortunately fought him in 2019, in which he was no longer ranked. So another opponent Crawford has faced that is not ranked top 10. If we look at Amir Khan, he's the biggest thing is coming off the devastating knockout loss to Canelo Alvarez. He also was stopped by Danny Garcia, and he also lost a split decision to Lamont Peterson. But let's see what he was able to do. He's able to bounce back after that fight and capture a pretty decent win and a pretty decent title in a 4th round stoppage. He goes on fight Kell Brook in 2022, which is 3 years after Crawford beat him, so I don't really care about that much. What I'm seeing here with Amir Khan, did Amir Khan become champion? He had to. Okay, Amir Khan became a 140 champion, beating Zab Judah in 2011. So, let's put a little bit of salt on that. Take that with a grain of salt. Not the Zab Judah that we all have came to know and love. But he was a world champion. He beat an active world champion and captured a world title at 140. And he stopped Zab Judah. So, Zab Judah wasn't his best, but in the next fight, he immediately loses the world title. He then goes on and tries to capture another world title and gets stopped in 4 rounds. Goes on, builds his way back up, takes a crazy fight, jumping up. I thought he jumped 2 weight classes. He jumped 1 weight class, takes a pretty dangerous fight in Canelo Alvarez, and he gets stopped brutally, like I said. Has to work his way back up at 147, and I believe he probably took a premature fight with Terence Crawford. After this type of knockout in 2016, he did take a year layoff, which isn't bad. Okay, he took a year layoff. So he took about 3 years before he fought back at the world title level. But I feel like he should have had more fights building up to this 147 fight with Crawford. I feel like he got the call and he just jumped on it. Like I said, Amir Khan was ranked 14, 15, and 16. Crawford fought him in 19, so he was about 3 years removed from being ranked at 147. If I had to be honest, I give the Amir Khan win maybe a good 6 out of 10. Maybe a 6 out of 10. Goes on, fights Cav Velasquez. He stops Cav Velasquez in 9. I like Cav Velasquez, actually. Lithuanian fighter. Was not a regional fighter. Actually came straight over to America, which I believe to be really impressive. We tend to have a more competitive scene depending on the route these fighters take. All right. So he starts off really strong on the American scene. He's able to capture the NABF welterweight title. He's able to capture the WBO Continental welterweight title. He goes majority draw with Ray Robinson, which is a bit funny, and he's stopped by Crawford. After that, doesn't do much. He captures some more regional titles. Fights Virgil Ortiz, gets stopped. Doesn't do much after fighting Crawford. But he was a solid guy coming up. He's coming off a draw. Cav Velasquez, where was he ranked? Don't know how to spell Cav Velasquez. Cav Velasquez was ranked at 7th and 10th. Crawford fought him in 2019. He was ranked about 7th, 10th. Not a bad win. A win I'll probably give a 5.5 or a 6. Not a bad win. And it feels like I'm being really strict here. It may feel like I'm being really strict here. But I want to be honest. I want to be just. I want to be as objective as I possibly can be. It's nothing against Crawford. I want to get to the bottom of his resume. We're going to get to his more better names in a second. He goes on. He fights Kell Brook. This was in 2020, maybe? 2020. So now we're done with the 2010s. We can close that out. 2020s. These are all the names we got. Okay. Well, they need to update this. He fights Kell Brook, who was not ranked. It's already a head scratcher. Kell Brook was coming off the brutal back-to-back stoppage losses to Golovkin and Errol Spence. And this is where it's like he was probably damaged goods. I don't know if Kell Brook was a good win after this point. He was kind of battered. He was kind of beaten pretty bad here. Man, he does come back. He does win the silver super welterweight title at 154. As a matter of fact, Crawford brought him back down to 147. Okay. I don't think this is a good win. He was undefeated, really elite regional fighter on the UK scene. Really great. One of the best welterweights the UK had to offer in the mid to early 2010s, right? He jumps 2 weight classes. He fights Golovkin. That was the beginning of the end. He jumps 2 back down to fight Errol. Gets stopped again. Eye socket broke again. And then he goes to 154. So he goes up 2, down 2, up 1. Crawford brings him back down 1. It's too much going on in Kell Brook's career for me to say this is a good win. Like, I'm looking at another 6, maybe 5.5. Like, it's too much going on here. He does go on to beat Amir Khan to finish his career off, but like I said, Kell Brook wasn't even ranked at the time. I can't give him too much for this one. Give him a 5.5 for Kell Brook. We go back. Sean Porter, I believe, was ranked. He was 5th. I don't know why they're not showing the 2020s. He fought Sean Porter in what, 2022? No, it had to be 2021. 2021 he fought Porter, I'm assuming. Yeah. And this was at welterweight. Sean Porter was he not ranked? He retired in 2021, so maybe he was ranked in 2020. Ooh, he was ranked 5th. He was ranked 5th. Okay. That was looking bad for Crawford, man. Sean Porter is coming off a unanimous decision for the WB Silver welterweight title. Coming off the split decision loss to Errol 2 years before. Really competitive fight. Beating Ugas by split decision. Beating Danny Garcia. Stopping Andre Berto. Really close fight with Keith Thurman. Beating Adrian Broner. Losing to Kell Brook by majority decision. Beating Malignaggi. Stopping Malignaggi in 4. This is probably his best one yet. This is really close between him and Postal. We're actually gonna bring up, let's see, the welterweight division of the 2010s. See how many years Porter was ranked consecutively. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. That's 8 years consecutively. I'll give this one a solid 8. A very solid 8. You do got to realize Porter was on his way out. That does deduct some points. But Porter's always gave everyone a great fight. I think Sean Porter's his best win up to this point. 8 is perfect. Then we get to David Albanesian, who I believe had just beaten maybe Josh Kelly. See, 2022 they fought. Welterweights of 2022, Avanesian was number 10. David Avanesian is coming off the Josh Kelly stoppage. Coming off a Liam Taylor stoppage. He stopped another guy. Captured the European welterweight title. Captured that a while ago. He lost to Cat Velasquez, which is okay. He lost to Lamont Peterson, which isn't the worst thing on the planet. Beat Shane Mosley in 2016. That's not great. This is what I'm looking for. This is what Jose Benavidez was lacking. Now, Avanesian has lost a lot of fights just throughout his career. But we see him capture the Russian welterweight title. He defends that. We see him capture the WBC Asian title. He captures another title. Captures the he loses the NABF title, but he captures the European title. He defends that for a while. These things are overlooked in boxing. I get it. It seems like, okay, we don't count interim. We don't count everybody can't be world champion. You don't have to be a world champion to be a good victory. If a fighter is the best guy in a region and can defend that year in and year out, and then steps up and loses to Crawford, that's not bad. That does not make him a bad fighter. Now, in the case of David Avanesian, though, I don't believe he's that great. I give him a 6. Give him a 6. He's an okay fighter. He's an okay fighter. After losing to Crawford, he went on to fight 6 rounders. He had the late step in with Jaron Ennis, and then back to fighting 6 rounders. I give him a good 6 out of 10. He's an okay fighter. Then we get to Errol Spence Jr., who, for this case, 2023, we need to look at a bit different list. We need to look at the men's pound for pound, in which Errol Spence was number 5, which I think is absolutely insane, personally. But this was in 2020. I don't even know how he was number 5 in 2020. That's kind of crazy as well. Can I pull up the actual pound for pound of 2023? Pound for pound, Errol Spence dropped to 7th. And I think that's after his loss to Crawford. 2022, he was number 4. Like, that's kind of crazy, man. It's kind of crazy. I like Errol. I think Errol was definitively a pound for pound fighter, but number 4, that's crazy. Nonetheless, being on the pound for pound, even being considered a pound for pound fighter, is really impressive. Let's take a look at Errol. See how long Errol was ranked at 147. From 15 down to 19. That is 5 years in a row. And then obviously 20, 21, 22, 23. 9 years in a row. A decade almost of being ranked at welterweight. Let's see how long he was pound for pound. Where's the pound for pound? Does the 2020 have a pound for pound? We just had a pound for pound. Now it's gone. Okay. Let's say Earl was pound for pound. Let's look at his resume. Earl probably joined the pound for pound when he beat Mikey Garcia. So let's say he was on the pound for pound for 4 years at that point. We look at Errol Spence's career. He never really got any good regional titles, which isn't a big deal because he went on to be reach the pinnacle of boxing, obviously, which was the world welterweight champion. Beats Kell Brook. This was Kell Brook after the Golovkin fight. Nonetheless, stops Brook, stops Peterson, stops Acampa. Okay, beats Mikey Garcia. Somewhere in between here, he gets into car accidents. I can't quite remember that. Beats Porter, split decision with Porter. Nobody looks good against Porter. Beats Danny Garcia, stops Ugas, loses to Bud. Now let me see. Errol Spence car crash. I don't know when 2019 he got in. Didn't he get into 2 car crashes? Thought he got into 2. 2019 he got in a car crash. And he comes back and he's still really dominant. I'm assuming it was after the Porter fight, October 10th, 2019. Yeah, about a month or 3 weeks after the Porter fight, gets in a car crash, but he still comes back. He beats Danny Garcia convincingly, who we could look at Danny Garcia where he was at in the 2010s at welterweight. Danny Garcia was ranked for 5 years consecutively. Comes back, beats him convincingly. Ugas, probably not as good as Garcia, but Ugas is ranked 2 years back-to-back consecutively before losing to Spence. Also beat Pacquiao at the time, who beat Thurman, and he goes on, he gets dominated by Bud. This is the question that everybody's asking. How good of a win was Spence at that point? After the car crash, after Spence didn't look the same, after all of these different factors that we use to try to undermine and diminish Bud's legacy, I would give the Errol Spence victory a perfect 10 out of 10. Cherry on top. You know, that's his coup de grace. That is a beautiful victory. A pound for pound fighter at the peak of his powers, close to the peak of his powers, undefeated, unified, one of the best, greatest welterweights of all time, toyed with him. Absolutely toyed around with Errol Spence. This is the best victory that you could possibly obtain in boxing. This is a victory that fighters can only dream of. This is a 10 out of 10 victory from Terence Crawford. Israel Madrimov, a guy I was high on, he goes on, he loses to Virgil after Crawford. I'm pretty sure this was his first world title fight where he stopped the guy in 5. Not a lot going on with Madrimov. Not a lot going on. I give Madrimov a 6. 6.56. He's an okay fighter. I really do like him. He's a tough fighter for anybody. I give him a 6 just because Crawford didn't make it look as easy as a lot of people thought he should have. And then we get up to Canelo Alvarez. So we kind of broke down Crawford's entire resume in a pretty good timely manner. What are we looking at? 42 minutes. Maybe not. But we did a pretty good deep dive. We stayed true. We stayed honest. A lot of you guys drop some comments below if I missed some things on some fighters. I try to stay respectful. Some guys aren't as great as the next. If I had to grade Terence Crawford's resume in totality, 6.57. 6.5. A lot of guys who weren't ranked, but Crawford's also in his 4th division in a lot of these fights. He's also stopping a lot of these guys, so I give him a 6.5. It was a lot of 4s in the beginning, a lot of 5s, a lot of guys, not a lot of guys above 7. I believe the only guys I gave above a 7 were Porter, which I gave an 8, Postal, which I give a 7.5. Maybe I want to give Postal an 8. I'm really high on the Postal victory, and the Errol Spence, which I give a perfect 10. So Crawford's resume in totality, it just had nothing to do with him as a fighter. I would drop Crawford around a 6 or 6.5. You guys let me know, how do y'all feel about this down below in the comments. Like I said, if I messed anything up, if I missed any key details, you guys let me know, please.